Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Rally webinar, Creative Seasonal Hiring Strategies. I'm Sylvia. I'm the founder of Rally Recruitment Marketing, and I want to thank all of you for joining us for today's webinar. It's that time of year when holiday recruiting is starting to ramp up, so we thought it would be a great opportunity to look at social media and digital marketing strategies that can help us attract talent to meet those seasonal hiring goals. Today's webinar is being brought to you in partnership with Glassdoor, and I want to thank them for being a sponsor of the Rally Recruitment Marketing community and also for their partnership and helping us to bring educational webinars and resources like these to you. Here's what you'll learn on today's webinar. We will share fresh ideas to activate your employees on social media to help drive referrals, creative uses of video that will make your seasonal jobs stand out, digital remarketing strategies to bring back your best hires, and a live Q&A. Let me introduce my fellow speaker. So with me today is Kelly Burns, Recruitment Marketing Specialist with Xanterra Travel Collection, which operates the hotels and lodges inside Yellowstone National Park. And yes, Yellowstone has a recruitment marketer. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, Lori. Great to be here.
I should say welcome back because you were a speaker at our Rally Forward virtual conference last December, and which was great. So thanks again for doing that. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your role and what you do for Yellowstone.
Thanks, Lori. I'm excited to be back with Rally, presenting again on a topic that we're very familiar with here in the park, seasonal hiring. So Lori said, my name's Kelly Burns, and I'm the Recruitment Marketing Specialist here at Yellowstone National Park Lodges, and I've been in this role for about 1.5 years now. The interesting thing is my position actually sits in the marketing department rather than human resources and is dedicated solely to recruitment marketing. But first, I'll give you a little bit of background about Yellowstone National Park Lodges. So we are a welcoming community who work hard, we share a passion for the environment, and we enjoy creating memorable experiences for our guests as well as our employees. We really embrace a naturally different lifestyle that allows our employees to live, work, and explore in one of the most beautiful places on Earth, the world's first national park, Yellowstone. So we are the primary concessionaire in Yellowstone National Park. That means we run the lodging, the hotels, campgrounds, food and beverage, everything from fine dining to grab-and-go food, retail shops where you can get some souvenirs. We also have activities like corrals and marina. And then we also have back of the house like accounting and maintenance to keep everything up and running smoothly. So as far as our season, our summer season runs from April to October. We hire about 3,500 employees to cover all those different lodges, campgrounds, facilities, activities, et cetera. And then we do operate in the winter as well. It's a much more scaled back operation. We only have 2 lodges, 4 dining facilities, and only about 400 employees during the winter season, which runs from about December to March. So currently in Yellowstone, we are in the middle of the elk rut, which means it is the mating season between the males and females. It runs from about early September to mid-October, so we're right in the thick of it. And this picture on the left was taken by one of our employees. This is actually right next to our office. You can see the bull elk sitting there with his harem he's starting to develop, all the cow elk. And then on the right, one of our employees, Katie, snapped this shot in the parking lot. This is a calf from this year, so he's just kind of watching the action and seeing what he should do next year. So it's a pretty interesting time to be in the park.
This is awesome. I love that you added these in. I guess in a way, elk are doing their own seasonal hires right now in Yellowstone. So I bet it's super interesting to watch all the action.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, thank you again for being here. Excited to be collaborating with you on today's webinar. And to our audience, I mean, throughout the webinar, if you have questions, please go ahead and enter your questions into the participant Q&A box on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And Shelby from the Rally team is there now to assist you, and we'll be queuing up your questions for the end of the webinar. All right, so let's kick things off. As I mentioned, it's that time of year when you can't walk into a big box retailer without seeing a "We're hiring" sign. And this is the actual sign that I saw recently at my local Target store. And I couldn't help but snap a picture knowing that we were planning this webinar. But the upcoming winter holidays, I mean, really isn't the only time that we think about when it comes to seasonal hiring. There are employers who staff up at other times of the year, like the hospitality industry over the summer months. And that's exactly what Kelly does for Yellowstone National Park, except she's working now to build pipeline for the 2020 Yellowstone season. So Kelly, let's look at some of the key strategies that you use to attract talent to Yellowstone each year, and share some of your pro tips that others can borrow, really no matter when they're hiring.
Great. All right, so we'll start off by talking about social media. So I thought I'd just share a few quick stats that I pulled that really point out the importance of social media. So first off, our sponsor Glassdoor, I found a great stat from them that 79% of job applicants use social media in their job search. And really the ultimate goal of using social media is awareness. So if you think about the candidate journey, the very first is awareness. So that's really what we're using social media for. It's really to develop and deliver content that's helpful to the job seeker. They really want a peek behind the curtain of what it's really like to work for at your company. So in the middle column, we have this statistic from the Society for Human Resources Management. They did a survey back in 2015 specifically about using social media for talent acquisition. So that was only 4 years ago, and they found that 84% of organizations do use social currently, and 9% are planning to use. So even 4 years ago, they know that social media is not a nice to have, it's really a must do. So I can only imagine that those percentages have gone up in the past couple of years. Finally, in 2018, Pew Research found that millennials are the largest generation in the U.S. labor force. And then the Aberdeen group this year found that 73% of millennials found their last position through a social media platform. And what was interesting to me is that as I dug into the research, they didn't specify what they meant by found. So it could be the person just saw a job posting, or it could be they saw a content post, whether it was on the main company page or on a careers page. It could have been organic, it could have been paid, or maybe their friends liked something with that company and they saw it in their friends feed. So there's really a lot of ways people can find your company and your career site through social media. It doesn't necessarily have to be a job posting. So with that, kind of walk through a little bit how we embraced social media. And we really went after Instagram as our primary social media channel. So even though we did have employee dedicated channels in the past, they were primarily used to convey information rather than inspiration. And we'd really lacked an employee perspective on our social channels. So as I mentioned, I've been in the role about 1.5 years, and I was really tasked with developing more employee content. And as you may know, Yellowstone is a pretty sizable working location. We have 2.2 million acres. All of our lodges and food and beverage and operations are spread out across 8 different villages. So the logistics of having myself, the only person in the role, being tasked with getting employee content was really overwhelming. So we quickly realized that if we wanted to get employee content, we really needed to go to the employees and have them provide it to us, kind of getting their boots on the ground perspective. we also realized that it was really better for them to tell the stories rather than us to collect and tell the stories secondhand. And we did have social channels for our Yellowstone jobs, so we knew people were already sharing what they're doing in the park. They just weren't necessarily connecting it with the company. So, and we saw that the people that were tagging the park or Yellowstone jobs was really great content. So what we launched last June was an Instagram contest. And we chose Instagram because it's obviously a very visual medium, and it really aligned with our employee value proposition, which is live, work, explore. So showing the whole spectrum of working here. And because of the timing, we launched it in mid-season. As I mentioned, we go April to October. So launching it June 1st is pretty much right in the dead of the season for us. We decided it would be best to offer a monthly prize of $100 to the person that used hashtag Yellowstone Jobs, and we'd pick a winner every month. So the management of the contest was fairly simple. We just went through on a daily basis to look at who had used the hashtag, and we saved the ones we liked. Then at the end of the month, we just went through all of our saved posts and kind of picked the favorite as the winner. So as far as picking the winner, our original thought was we really just wanted nice pictures, but then when we were looking at the pictures people were posting, we really got drawn to the captions. So that ended up being part of our criteria as well, because we want the captions to tell a story. And we knew with our first contest winner in June 2018 that we really wanted to set the tone for the type of photos we were looking for moving forward. And this contest actually ran into October when our employees left for the season. So we had about 5 months of picking winners. So these are just some of the content, the type of content that we get with people using the hashtag. And what we really do every time we share a post with the hashtag, we always keep the employee caption because they tell the story better than we ever can. We might add something on top of it, like a joke or an emoji or something tying into it, but we always keep their caption. We never edit it. We just like to keep it in their hands. And this really tells their truth and allows people that are scrolling through that hashtag to really decide for themselves if this would be a good job for them. What we've also done is look at hashtags and location. So in Instagram, you can always add more hashtags to a post. And we really leverage the fact that we're in Yellowstone, so we can use a lot of hashtags related to the park and the locations in the park, as well as tagging the location so it shows up as well. And what's really great about that is that because the park is so big, the scenery is so diverse, it really lets people see what they could encounter when they live and work here. Everything from mountains to big valleys to canyons, the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone Lake, lots of rivers. It just really shows the breadth of what we have to offer. So some of the results we've had, I actually touched on this Yellowstone Jobs contest at my presentation last December in the Rally Forward conference. So just since last December, our followers have gone up about 400%, and the use of our hashtags has doubled. So it's gone up more than 100% of people using hashtag Yellowstone Jobs. And what I thought was pretty interesting is that we ended the contest last October, obviously, because all of our employees left for the season. And when we were starting up for the 2019 season, we decided not to run the contest again. The whole goal of doing it last year was we were starting kind of mid-season, and we wanted to jumpstart it. So this year we figured coming into the season, people would already know about the hashtag. So basically everything since last October has been organic, people using the hashtag without any incentive. We really decided to advertise over the winter that we have the hashtag. So as people were applying, as they were getting onboarded, as they were arriving, as they're getting trained, they know that we have the hashtag, and anytime they have a picture they'd like to share, they're welcome to use it. So this has been really successful as far as getting us some great organic content, just because the awareness has built up so much in just a year. We did also track traffic to our website. We just have a link in our profile going to the website. But as I mentioned, talking about social media statistics, our goal is really awareness. So these statistics we're looking at, followers and hashtags, is really increasing the awareness of Yellowstone jobs is the metric that we're looking at. And with that, we're actually starting to gear up for the 2020 hiring season. So the focus of our content that we're posting right now really shifts. So during the summer high season, we have 3,000 employees working in the park. We really want to use the hashtag to promote employee engagement and community building. People can see what their friends, coworkers are doing, both at their own village and then across the park. It might take 3 hours to get to a different location in the park. So you might see your friend post a really great hike and then put that on your itinerary for next week. So it's really kind of internal engagement building. And now as we come into the winter, we're going to reuse those posts we got during the summer to kind of show people that are looking what it might look like next season. So some of these pictures, the other benefit of doing this is not only can we share it on our Instagram page, but we can also share on our guest-facing social accounts. So our Yellowstone Jobs accounts are separate from the main Yellowstone National Park and Lodges account. And we found that they do really well on our guest-facing accounts. We try and pepper one in a few times a month, at least once a week, really to show that the employees are a huge part of your guest experience. From the first time someone makes a phone call, you're talking to a person working in the park in our reservations office. So it really gives you an inside look at what it takes to operate a national park, and then also what it's really like to live and work here. And we found that a lot of times our guests use our employees as resources. So when you check into a hotel, when you're eating in a dining room, when you're on a horseback ride, if you're buying a postcard in the store, you realize that these employees are out there living in the park every day, and they're really a great resource for you. So not only is it great to build internal community to sell to future employees, it's also great to show to guests as well. So with this content that we're getting, even within the last year, we've been able to get enough content that we can post to Instagram 7 days a week, various content. And what's great is that when the employee uses their hashtag, their friends also see it, and then we can see it and share it. So it really just amplifies the content even further. And outside of all these great metrics that are good to present, I think my greatest success personally has been really building this relationship with our employees. So I reach out to everyone that uses the hashtag and just thank them for using it and ask them for permission to share their photo. And I've gotten over 500 yeses. I don't think a single employee has said no yet. They're just very excited that their content is being seen, and they would love to share it even further. And it's really exciting to see the journey from when they're posting, when they're driving into the park to arrive at their location, to now this time of year, they're kind of posting bittersweet about how great a summer it was and how they're going to miss the park and their friends. So it's really great to get to connect with our employees.
This is awesome. You know that I'm a big fan of your work there, and particularly what you've done with Instagram. I think is just really smart and also kind of forward thinking. And probably there are some folks here on the call who would say, well, we don't have an employer that has like all this great scenery, that doesn't have the benefit of that kind of visual content. So what pro tips could you share with the Raleigh community for how they could apply what you've done with Instagram and with social media to their seasonal recruiting efforts?
Yeah, sure. So some of them, the first is really choose the channel that best matches your audience. Really look at who your audience is, who your employees are, and choose your channel from there. So you don't really want to force your audience onto a place where they don't already live. It's going to be even harder of a battle to get that accomplished. So as I mentioned, we really went after Instagram because it aligned with our employee value proposition. We're all about living, working, and exploring in the park, and that's a very visual medium. So we can showcase that really well to our employees. And it also really aligned with our demographic of employees that are already on Instagram. The other part of that, as I mentioned, is we'd had the hashtag. It just hadn't really been promoted before that. So we knew that people were using it. So we knew that we had it. That was our best chance to pursue social, that was probably the best avenue. As far as number 2, really keep it simple. As I mentioned, we designed this contest to get the hashtag, and we originally thought, oh, we want to get employee content, we want to get more followers, we want people to tag us, and it's just we wanted people to do too much to contribute. And at the end of the day, it just got too complicated to manage by myself, and we really just wanted to grow the use of the hashtag and get more content. Kind of the ancillary benefits that comes along with it is people do follow you, but we didn't want to require them to follow us and to tag us, to take so many steps to enter. So we really just simplified it because the ultimate goal was to get content. And the simplest way to do that was just ask people, please use the hashtag. The other thing that I kind of touched on with our metrics that we're looking at with our followers and hashtag use, a little bit of website traffic, really pick the right metrics to measure your success. With social media, it's awareness, it's top of the funnel, it's high level. It's really not tied to how many applicants and hires can we source from Instagram. It's really just telling your story and showing people kind of that behind the scenes, peeking behind the curtain insight into what life is like when you work in the park. And then the last tip is really tailoring that content to fit other channels. As I touched on, we have great pictures on Instagram, and then we're able to amplify it across our other channels as well as our guest-facing pages. And with that is a little bit of customization. So we don't just post on Instagram and then hit copy-paste to every other channel. We really try and tailor it to have the best practices of each social channel, and also rotating the photos and adapting them to really fit. You can really leverage that one piece of content a lot further.
Great tips. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people have life at and, insert company name. And I think their year-round employees, let's say, probably are aware of that. But it's really important to share that um, that hashtag with all the seasonal hires that are coming on board. And I think that's one of the strategies that you use to let people know, hey, we do this here, and please, please engage. So, and I love how you're using last year's content for this year's hiring. So for anyone who is thinking about using this strategy, this might be the year that you start something like this, build up your employee generated content library, and now you've got it for your next hiring season. So, okay, so that's awesome, Kelly. Thanks for sharing all those great social strategies. The next strategy that we wanted to talk through is referrals. So, Kelly, walk us through a little bit about how Yellowstone looks at referrals as a source of hire.
Sure. And yeah, this is kind of a broader definition of referral. So I think the common understanding of a referral program is offering your employees an incentive to recommend their friends to work there, which we do, but I really wanted to talk about the internal referrals. So we're here in Yellowstone operating as Yellowstone National Park Lodges, but we are a part of the Xanterra Travel Collection family. As you can see, we operate in lots of different national parks. There's also different resorts, cruise, train, travel, and then also affiliated properties. So it's part of a whole collection that really allows people to jump across properties. So we operate in 6 other national parks besides Yellowstone. So if people love national parks, they're able to jump over to other parks and try different parts of the country and see what those are like. But what is helpful is that it's the same company, so they know what to encounter. They know what they're going to get into with the job, what it's going to be like to live there. Obviously, a different location, different climate, different people, but staying with the same company. There's a little bit of a comfort factor there. So we really let people know that you are working for Yellowstone, but you're part of this larger company that really encourages you to explore based on what you're passionate about. So one of the incentives of traveling to these other parks is that you can achieve core seasonal status. And what that is it allows you to have paid time off and health benefits by working a certain amount of hours during the year. So if you wanted to work here during the season, but our season will allow you to get those hours, you can always go to different parks and accumulate those hours. And then it kind of gives you the benefits of health benefits that you're looking for, but then also allowing you to embrace that seasonal lifestyle that you really want to pursue as well. So it's a great way to balance out those two needs. And another part of being with the Xanterra Travel Collection is we're really looking to partner with other companies that we call counter-seasonal. So these are employers that operate in the opposite season from us. We're going from April to October, which means it's great to work with a lot of ski resorts because those people operate in the winter, so people can work a summer with us and then go to a ski resort and perhaps work there. So we even help our employees find those jobs by doing a winter job fair internally. So just last month, we had about a dozen, 12 to 15 winter employers come and try and hire our employees because obviously you're working in the park. You might not have good internet. You might not have the time to apply to these other jobs. So we bring them to you and really give you the opportunity to pursue that lifestyle by getting a winter job as well. So this is just a little bit about our referrals. We get about 30% of our applicants coming from referrals, and that might not just be what I mentioned before, the internal. It could be from other employees they're talking to, friends and family, hairdressers. People could just remember they came to Yellowstone as a kid and they wanted to always work there. So really many avenues people can refer. So I think just looking at referral in the broader sense of the term, and there doesn't always have to be an incentive behind it because if people are aware of your company, as we mentioned in social media, just mentioning it to people that it's an option for them helps as well.
I love that you guys do this partnership with the other employers that are in the opposite season of you. I mean, that's a great way to keep your employees coming back year after year, is just helping them, find that seasonal employment through the winter months, and then they're ready to come back to the park the following year. I mean, that's like really super smart, and even holding those own career fairs like right on property. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. That probably applies to a lot of folks who are doing similar in the hospitality industry. They could probably use that tip as well. And most companies get around a third of their hires from referrals, but you brought up rehires, and I thought that I would share a strategy that could help you with rehires. So, and that is remarketing. So remarketing is a strategy to re-engage candidates in your talent database, whether they're previous hires or previous applicants or people who might have joined your talent network but never applied. And the point is that they showed interest in your company and you've got their contact information. And so the timing for you and them may be right now. So you have an opportunity to reach these candidates. And typically that's done using email, but increasingly it's also being done through text. Depending on your ATS, your CRM, or your recruitment marketing platform, you may be able to personalize those messages they receive based on information that you've captured about them, such as the jobs that they've applied to, or the hiring stage that they reached, or even their preferred job location. We held a webinar recently on recruitment marketing analytics, and Ashley Burns from Newell Brands, no relation to Kelly that I know of, was one of the presenters. And Ashley uses remarketing emails as part of their recruitment strategy to specifically target candidates who join their talent community, and they send them emails with relevant jobs. So you can see here that from this one email campaign, they had a 9% click-through rate to the apply link. So how can you apply this to seasonal hiring? I think think about marketing your jobs to your existing talent database. And Kelly, you also mentioned, winter job fair, and probably your HR and recruiting team are also doing their participating in events for their own recruiting into Yellowstone. So we know that hiring events are really essential as a strategy for seasonal hiring, and it's high volume and a short time span. So doing those open houses or those hiring events can be really effective. And one of the event promotion strategies that you might consider is creating a job listing for the event and promoting it through job boards where you can reach active job seekers. And this is an example that I found from C's Candies, which in this job listing, it's for a number of positions from quality inspectors to shippers. So not one job, but multiple jobs being advertised through an event. And remember that these candidates can filter employer reviews by keywords like seasonal. So I highly recommend that you check your ratings from the perspective of a seasonal candidate. For example, you can see here that C's Candy's CEO has a pretty solid rating, but then there's definitely a drop when filtering for the keyword seasonal. So in this case, only 10% of the reviews are from seasonal workers, and so I would recommend being proactive and inviting your seasonal hires to leave reviews to share their experience. And this can bring a more balanced set of reviews that could raise your ratings. So think about that when you're recruiting for seasonal hires. So the next strategy we wanted to share is video. So Kelly, why don't you take us through how you're using video in a creative way for Yellowstone?
Yeah, happy to. So again, it's just pulling in some really great statistics that we found out there, just supporting the use of how important video is. So we had some original research by Wise Owl that found that 81% of businesses use video as a marketing tool, and that went increased up from 63% in 2017. And out of those 81% of businesses, they found that 78% of marketers say that video gives them a good return on investment. So similar to social media, video is really solidifying itself in the world of recruitment as no longer a nice to have thing. It's kind of an essential to have thing. And Cisco actually predicted that online video is going to account for 80% of all web traffic by next year in 2020. So we know that the vast majority of digital marketers are already using video in their marketing strategies. It's not a trend. It's kind of the wave of the future for distributing content and also increasing engagement with that content. And as far as social videos, Impact found that those videos shared on social generate 1,200% more shares than sharing text and images. So in other words, if you really want to increase the chance that your candidates are going to see your social media posts, including a video in them is a really great way to kind of amplify them. So I think we all know that video is difficult to do. As much as we know you have to do it, it is time consuming and expensive. So this is what we've managed to put out for the sampling of videos this year. And we took a broader approach to our videos. So the fact when you're working in Yellowstone, it's not a typical job. Not only are you coming here to work, you're coming here to live, and you're coming here to meet new people from around the world. So we really need to prepare our candidates on what they're going to expect as soon as they come into Yellowstone. So these are just a couple videos that show them kind of in depth what they're going to encounter. So the what it's like to work in Yellowstone is the perspective of a couple that works in our food and beverage department and kind of what they thought coming in and what it turned into. And those were employees that were here. Dell on the left was here for 7 years. And then his wife, Tina, there on the right, has been here about 3 years. So they had really great perspective to offer to our employees. And then in the middle video, we had Brittany, who was one of our dorm supervisors. So she talked a lot about what it's like to be part of a community when you're living here. And then finally, our last video on the right, we have Glenn, who is one of our employee dining room managers. So he talked about what he tries to encourage in the employee dining room as far as how you're going to eat when you're here and kind of the community he wants to embrace as well.
And we're going to show one of these videos, but before I do that, Kelly, I wanted to ask, were you sharing the middle video more than the other two? Because I can see such a huge increase in the number of views.
Yeah, and I think that's just the biggest question our employees have that we've heard is that they really don't know what it's like to live here. So they kind of get that, okay, I'm going to be eating, someone's going to feed me. That's as much as I need to know. Obviously, some want to know a little bit more, but it's really the community part that you're joining that I think is the biggest unknown. So I think that's why that video really resonated with people.
Awesome. Yeah. That I teach in the content marketing workshop that I run, which is that content needs to answer a question that candidates have at each stage of their candidate journey. And this is, as you said, one of the key questions. And what better way than to actually show it through a video? So I'm going to play that now. And if you're listening in through your phone, you may or may not hear the audio. It's about a minute. When I send out the recording, I'll be sure to include a link to the video so you can hear the video as well as see the video. But if you're listening through your computer, I think you should hear the audio just fine. So let's go ahead and play that. It's only about a minute long.
So this is our common room. We have a computer that has internet. People hang out, play games up here. There's a little map where people put where they're from on there. We do like ice cream socials in here and game nights, and people just hang out. Since a lot of them travel like internationally, they only have like a suitcase or two, so they don't have a lot of decorations or anything. And then they get here and they're not sure how to get stuff. But I think like a lot of people don't realize you can still use like Amazon and order things. We do get mail, like packages. So even if you can't bring it with you, you can still get stuff once you're here. If you think you're not gonna like fit in, you'll find someone that you'll be friends with. You're welcome. It's people from all over the world, people from every state. It's great. Living here, working here, you're always together. So sometimes it can be tough, but most of the time, like, you're with the same people, they become your family. Like, you go hiking with them, they see you at your bad times, they see you at your good times. You're just a person to listen, and it's nice being able to be there for them. And if they have any questions or need like to talk to HR, like we direct them in the right place. We have beautiful trees, beautiful animals. You can go to any part of the park and it's completely different. You can rent out boats and go on the lake, and you can just hang out and have picnics by the lake and walk around it. Like, other people don't get to do that. It's nice.
So that's awesome. And definitely a question you can see that people would have in order to take this kind of seasonal job. But just in general, as a trend, as I work with the Raleigh recruitment marketing community, I hear that this category of video is one of the hot new videos that is a must-have in their video strategy, which is the environment, the location. So really showing people what it's like to work there, physically inside the space. So Kelly, tell us, how have you used that kind of video in your recruitment marketing?
Yeah, so kind of like you mentioned, it's really intimidating to start a new job, regardless, even if you're just coming from your home and commuting 20 miles down the road. But our employees are coming from across the U.S. and even around the world, uprooting their whole lives to join us. So we really want to make sure that they are sure of what they're getting into. It's not enough to just have them sign a contract saying, I'm going to do this job. They want to know where they're going to get their mail, where they can do banking, what they're going to be eating, what they're going to be living in. So these videos are really designed as a place to kind of answer those questions and show this is a dorm you'll be living in. This is, one of the people that's going to be a resource for you, our residence coordinators. So we have these videos available across the candidate journey. So starting out with awareness, this is a screenshot of when we shared it on our Facebook channel, showing people about community living. We also have it on our website. So if they get over to our website and they're considering a little bit deeper, want to find a little bit more information, if they're interested in it, they can also come across it on YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel. And then we even include it in our onboarding because it's one thing to accept a job, it's another thing to show up to your job. So we're trying to encourage people along the way to assure them this is what you signed up for, this is what you're going to see, this is who you're going to meet, this is where you're going to live, and really just increase their comfort level with us and what they're getting into.
That's a really important point about no-shows, which every employer has to deal with, but I imagine for temporary jobs, seasonal workers, like this is also a significant factor. And video can be super effective at persuading them, like, yes, come here. But the other thing I thought of when I was watching that video is that one of our sponsors is Stories Incorporated, and they also create employee stories content. And Lauren Sargent, who's a co-founder there, I've heard her speak, and she talks about how video can also be used to be a little polarizing, so that like if it's not for you, that's good too, that you kind of figure that out early in your candidate journey. And maybe for some people, this isn't the place for them. And you'd probably rather know that than have them accept and then not show up, right? So I think that was a really smart video to put together. And how did you do that? Did you guys hire an agency or did you do that internally?
We worked with an outside videographer, so he came in to do the shoot, and then he did the production as well.
Okay. Okay, great. So we have one more strategy to share, and then we will open it up for questions. So if you have any questions, just be sure to enter those into the participant feedback box in the bottom left of your screen, and we'll get those queued up. We already have some questions coming in, which is great. So the last strategy that I wanted to share is retargeting. And this is kind of a future strategy. So it's something to think about now and to put in place now if you're doing seasonal hiring right now that will help you out next year. So a little bit of planning ahead. And so this strategy is called retargeting. And this is borrowed from marketing, which uses this strategy all the time. And so retargeting places a tracking pixel on the device of the person who visits your career site and then can track what pages they accessed or did not access, including whether they completed an application or not. And then you're able to serve them digital ads that invite them to return to your career site to apply for a job. And there are several ways that you can implement retargeting, including Google. All the social media platforms will allow you to do this. You can just go into the platform, and there's a place where you can sign up as an advertiser, and then they provide you with a tracking pixel, and you can copy that tracking pixel, and then you'll need to add it to your careers site. So you might need the help of your recruitment marketing platform vendor or your marketing team or IT team, whoever, or agency, whoever helps support you with your career site. But if your career site already has Google Analytics built in, which it probably does, the pixel gets added in the same place where that is added. So it's a pretty standard thing to do from a digital marketing perspective. You can also use a retargeting service like AdRoll, which we use here at Rally. And so it's the same thing. A tracking pixel gets added to your career site. But then through AdRoll, I can pick different channels that I want to advertise on, which can include social, but it also can include just general websites. So you've probably experienced this as a just consumer, as a person on the internet, where maybe you visited Zappos to look at some shoes, and then you're later on the weatherchannel.com, and maybe you see some ads for Zappos, and maybe even specifically for the shoes that you might have been looking for. So that's the concept. And this example comes from an idea book that we published recently on conversion rate optimization strategies. And this idea book is available on rallyrecruitmentmarketing.com. And this example was contributed by Aaron Kraljev from Wells Fargo. And they use retargeting to draw in candidates who have visited their site before but who did not apply. And they tag both their careers page and also their job postings. So Aaron shared that their retargeting ads essentially generated over 500 hires for the company. So it's been a very cost-effective job advertising channel for them. So that's something to think about. So consider that for your next season and put your tracking pixels in place now. Okay, great. So we've got about 10 minutes or so to answer some of the questions that have come through the audience. And if you have any more questions, go ahead and get those submitted now. But let me start with some of the ones that already have been asked. And one of them is about your relationship, Kelly, with HR and marketing. So, HR and recruiting. So you mentioned that you sit within the marketing team. And, we did a survey of the Rally community, a job and salary survey, which is also available on our website. Most folks who practice recruitment marketing report into talent acquisition. You report into marketing. So what have you done to really build that relationship with the recruiters and the HR team at your company?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's actually a really great timing because I'm actually coming to you from our HR office today. So being in Yellowstone, we're pretty spread out. So I actually work in Wyoming, up at the top of the hill, and then our HR office is in Montana, the bottom of the hill, only about 5 miles apart, but different states, and about 1,000 feet lower in elevation. So I come down once a week to sit in our HR office and just, really just be there as a resource and work together with our hiring managers and all our people down at HR. We do have regular meetings, just to talk strategy and to get stuff done, but it's also just being a face and really just getting that face time and building a relationship has been super helpful for us to really have that team approach, even though we are in different departments.
That's great. Yeah, the FaceTime is so important, I think, to building relationships. And even if you can't physically be there, I mean, there's so many options today for video conferencing. So that's a great point. And another question for you, Kelly. You were talking about the Instagram contest that you launched, and all this employee-generated content that's coming through, and then you're you're sharing that again through Instagram, but then through your other channels. Do you have to get a waiver in order to share their content?
So we only share this content on social. So if they use the hashtag, like I mentioned, I reach out personally and just ask them for their permission to reshare it. There's been a couple of instances where we've wanted to put it in like a print material or on like a poster, and then I reach out and get explicit permission to use it for that purpose. So we do have explicit permission if we use it outside of Instagram, but then I'm also asking just their verbal permission in a direct message at Instagram, just to make sure that, yes, you did use the hashtag, but I want to let you know that I appreciate it and I'd love to share it as well. And we haven't had any issues with people declining to use the post.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, sometimes I feel like the legal team just is trying to overly manage risk and getting in the way of us leveraging all of these new marketing strategies and channels that are available to us on social. So I think as marketers and recruitment marketers, we need to push back so that we can leverage this to help us do our jobs really. So I think that's smart that you're reaching out and asking their permission, and you don't need to deal with all the legal paperwork. And then, okay, so there's a question about measurement. And first of all, what what tool are you using to track social media? How are you getting the data for what you were calling vanity metrics? And maybe you can also give us a definition of vanity metrics.
Yeah, so that was our hashtags and our followers, and those are really just what Instagram is giving us. So I just use the analytics within Instagram, um, and I honestly just track them in an Excel spreadsheet. I just set myself a monthly reminder, and since last June, I just put in at the end of every month where our followers are at and where the use of our hashtags are at. So it might be a little bit of a manual process, but it's fairly simple just to go in once a month and type in those numbers and then just calculate what it's grown since then. Because Instagram within the platform itself doesn't allow you to look back very far. So I found just keeping track of that in an Excel spreadsheet is the most helpful to track that over time.
And then what do you mean by vanity metrics? Because not everybody knows what that terminology is.
Yeah, so that's just what we have our number of hashtags used and then our number of followers. That's kind of the best data that Instagram gives you to be able to track in the platform. So that's what we call the vanity, is the followers and the hashtag use.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I think sometimes they're called vanity because it's things that matter to us, and we feel good about the number of followers increasing. But then I like how you separated out. Okay, well then what was the actual click through to our career site, and that's where we start to see the conversion that helps bring people down the funnel. So that was really great. Um, okay, and another question came for you, Kelly, which is, um, are you using any software tools or applications to create videos in addition to hiring an agency, or are you just relying on an agency to help you with that?
Yeah, so we just worked with a videographer that we'd worked with in the past for our guest-facing materials. So we just reached out to him, and he did the shooting, and then he also did all the publication using his own internal software. So we just used him as our resource for capturing that content and then turning it into a published video.
Okay. And then there's a question about using video inside social. So you mentioned that you have the videos hosted on YouTube. When you share them on social, are you linking to the YouTube video or are you uploading them natively inside the social platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. We always upload them natively. As you know, with Facebook, they like to keep people within the platform and not leaving. So by putting a YouTube link in there, you're encouraging people to leave the platform. So uploading it within Facebook just lets them see it within there. And Facebook tends to like that and give you a little bit more reach and engagement with your videos when you upload it in their platform rather than linking externally.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's definitely a recommendation for everyone is to upload your videos natively inside that platform, whatever platform it is, whether it's a job board site, whether it's a social platform, because all of their algorithms are going to reward you for keeping people on the platform and not sending them to another site. Okay, so for the hashtag contest, did you have any trouble with posts that maybe you didn't like the content that used the hashtag, that didn't meet your standards? How did you handle that?
Yeah, so when we were assessing content, we obviously awarded the winner to the one that we liked and really had a great picture and a great caption. So with Instagram, you're always taking the risk when you're publishing a hashtag that anybody can use that hashtag. We've been very lucky in the fact that our employees have really embraced it and been really great about posting. And I do share posts that are honest. I mean, as long as it's not derogatory, but people do need to know this is a hard job. We're paying you to make beds and to wash dishes and to grill burgers. So we're not trying to sell kind of the misconception. We're trying to be very honest. So if somebody does put a post about I think I had an example in our presentation last year, like, washed a lot of dishes today, but the sunset made it worth it. That's honest, and that's what you're going to get when you work here. So yeah, we do just try and always share the best posts, but also honest posts as well.
Okay, yeah, I think transparency is really important, and that leads us to the next question. I think we have time for just one more here, which is how do you recommend inviting current employees to leave reviews regarding the company? Is there any concern over opening yourself up for even more negative reviewers online? And I can take that question. Um, my the experience that I draw upon is from the 18,000 people who are in the Rally recruitment marketing community, and they have found that inviting employees to share reviews actually will help tip the scale in your favor. What fosters negative reviews is when an employer isn't active and engaged in this process, then it lacks their voice to help respond and show that they care about what people say about the company. And if you're a more active employer, I think sometimes people see like, oh, if I write something here, yeah, it's someone at the company is going to actually see this. They're paying attention. But there's some key points when you can ask for reviews, like right after someone joins. That's really a honeymoon period, and also after they've been there for a few months, because it can still give a very authentic view of the company, but maybe provide a little more color as to their experience working there. So definitely, we recommend being proactive with reviews, and I think you'll be surprised that it lends itself to more positive outcome. So thank you guys so much for all these great questions, and thank you, Kelly, for being here on the webinar. I really enjoyed collaborating with you on this.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I'm glad to share.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Glassdoor, for your partnership in putting on today's webinar. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.